I'm actually extremely impressed right now, and over the years I've gotten a little jaded on certain things. One of them is the idea of companies just not caring, having so much money that they can basically pump out or do whatever they want, and consumer feedback, customer response, if the art is actually good, a lot of companies don't even seem to care about these things anymore. So when it comes to Helldivers 2, a game that I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on, but just someone with a passing interest in, this game was something that was a community favorite. This game is an example actually of, I would say, a live service game, a game that's primarily online that people love. And the company behind it, Arrowhead, was pretty transparent and good about managing this game and trying to give back to players. The game was even cheaper than a normal game would be. So Sony, who helped publish Helldivers 2, decided that, in my opinion, they wanted to boost their numbers. They wanted to get even more people on PSN, and you might think, well, why? That doesn't really sound like it's an important thing to do, but one of the reasons for it is because this is something that's always brought up in meetings. This is something that's always brought up in business discussions, is how many active players, how many active users you have, all of these different things. And so what they started doing as Cosmo climbs all over my desk is they decided to start actually pushing for people to need a PSN account in order to play this game going forward. This game that you did not need a PSN account for in the beginning, that you could just get through Steam or you could get on other consoles, you are now being required to make a PSN account to play Helldivers 2. Some people are already thinking, well, who cares? It maybe takes a couple of minutes, very simple. Well, a lot of the people who are thinking that are probably from places like America or most of Europe where PSN actually exists. There's actually a lot of countries where PSN does not exist. I believe it exists in something like 69, funny number, or 70 countries in total. And other than that, it's just not really a thing. It's not like it's a worldwide thing. Now, there are other ways to obviously do it, but really the way the terms of service work is that if you were to, say, live in a country that does not have PSN, and you were to make an account, link it to your Helldivers 2, and then you were to play the game and say, like, oh, I'm actually in America, but you're playing from a different country on Steam, now you're actually looking at possibly being banned. You're looking at getting your account taken away and losing access to the game just in general. You're basically looking at not being able to play the game you bought. Whether you're honest about it and say, actually, I don't live somewhere with PSN, or whether you're dishonest about it and you say, oh, actually, I'm in America, but you're like in the Arctic. So when it comes down to it, Sony was really pushing this requirement, and it had basically gone through. Arrowhead had updated saying, hey, you're going to need this. They had made a little statement about it before, saying that the game, was possibly heading that direction, but it wasn't something that was widely advertised. And so tons of people were going to lose access to this game. Tons of people were basically hitting the point where they were asking Steam for refunds, and surprisingly, Steam was actually giving them refunds. I saw one person get a refund even after putting something like 90 hours in, which I understand, there's going to be some criticism around that. It's like, well, you already got your use out of the game. But as somebody who really believes that when you buy a game, you should be able to own the game and just have the game going forward, I do get it. I think that it's really sad that we were being put in a position where, again, a game was going to be taken away from a lot of people just for being honest, all because, in my opinion, a company actually wanted to boost their numbers to look better and have more active users on their platform, kind of inorganically. It's like back when, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this, but there was an infamous U2 album that was pushed off onto pretty much everybody's iTunes automatically and basically put on their iPhone automatically. And it was a pretty infamous situation because it was something where now going forward they could be like, yeah, over 500 quadrillion downloads, everyone with an iPhone, everybody who has touched an Apple product has watched or listened to our album. And it was very obviously just a false way to boost your numbers. That's what I think Sony was doing here was, what if we increase our PSN numbers? Oh boy. And they had their other little justifications for it, but they didn't really make any sense. Now, me being a little skeptical, I thought, well, all these people are now review bombing the game. All these people are asking for refunds, and they have the right to do so. I don't think it's going to do anything. Because to me, when I saw this over and over again, when I've seen review bombs, when I've seen people go out of their way to speak their mind on games that do things like this, when I've seen people voice their frustration, I'm not saying you don't have the right to, but what I've seen over and over again is companies doubling down, developers throwing out buzzwords like racism or like bigotry or toxicity or whatever, like there's always some excuse to ignore when a vast amount of people have a criticism of something. I was wrong. I will genuinely admit I was wrong. Because that's a thought I voiced on Twitter, was basically like, hey, to me, I'm wondering, is this really going to do anything? Or is this like screaming at a cashier in a Walmart? Like obviously management and corporate doesn't give a shit. They don't care if you scream at that cashier. They're replaceable. To me, I've seen that attitude in gaming over and over again. That's what I was expecting here. But Sony has actually reversed course. Sony has actually gone back on this, straight up said that update is not going forward, that they're still learning what's best for the PC games, when they're on multiple platforms like PC, PlayStation, other things like that, and Sony Publishing is involved. They kind of walked it back as if like, well, we didn't know that this wasn't best for the gamers. Sure, whatever. I'm pretty sure you did. But regardless, they actually walked this back and it's not happening. Now, this is a shorter video than normal, but what I really wanted to say about this is that I think this is a good case study of why it is important to listen. Every time I've voiced complaints about something, or just talked about something I don't like, there's always people in the comments who will say stuff like, oh, well, you're just part of consumer culture, you're not making anything, you're just complaining, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, also, they are people who are doing the same thing. Like, they're also just consuming, and without having a critical lens, they're just defending the thing, like, please consume more product. Companies don't want you to criticize them. What they want is yes men who will just go along with anything that they pump out, go along with their decisions, boost their numbers, boost their money, consume the product, shut the hell up, and move on to the next product. I think it's very important for people to voice things like this, even if there are a lot of times where it doesn't do anything. This is an example of somewhere where it does. This is an example of something that changed because people were willing to actually put their money where their mouth was, say something about it, actually complain in a positive way, get refunds, hit Sony where it hurt with numbers, and fix it. Going forward, I hope we see more of this, because it's just a reminder that it's very important to actually speak your mind, and it's a reminder of why it's important for these companies to listen, because people really can have an impact on them. So if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope you have a fantastic day. Hope this is a little bit more positive for you. All of our links are in the description down below, including our Let's Play channel, my wife Jill's channel, where we've been making anime videos, Magical Jill. We also have our store, Cosmo Bunny Shop, and all kinds of stuff down there. Hope you'll check it out. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.